Centaurworld is weird, ridiculous, and at times downright cringe-inducing. I love this show. When I saw the first trailer for Centaurworld, I was dismissive at first. It didn't look like something that would appeal to me. Through word of mouth from many of my friends gushing about the series, I finally decided to give it a chance, and I'm very glad I did. For those who haven't heard of the series, Centaurworld is a musical comedy adventure that tells the story of our protagonist simply named Horse. Yes, that is what she calls herself, and so do the rest of the cast. Horse, along with her beloved companion, known only as Ryder, are struggling to survive in a violent world as humans are fighting against an evil, unknown force of monsters. After a rather dangerous battle, Horse is separated from her rider after an unknown artifact transports Horse to the strange, bright, and colorful Centaurworld, where every single creature is half animal and half something else. Horse also finds she now has the ability to speak. Not wanting to spend any more time in Centaurworld than she has to, Horse, along with her new friends, are on a quest to find her way back home to her rider. The total whiplash as we start off in dark and gritty medieval fantasy to what I can only describe as Toontown on crank is enough to make any viewer's head spin. While the saccharine sweet visuals and musical numbers had me cringing at first, Centaurworld's unique brand of charm and humor began to grow on me before the end of the first episode. The writing in this series is very good in both the storytelling and its musical numbers, which I'll talk more about later. The comedic timing couldn't be better, with jokes that never failed to land and a good number that had me in stitches. Despite the comedic nature, this series is not without its more heartfelt and emotional moments sprinkled throughout. When things get serious, the show pulls no punches when tugging at your heartstrings. While most of the time you're presented with this bright and colorful scenery and characters, over time you learn that things are not always as whimsical as the show presents. I don't want to give away too much, but Centaurworld does manage to tell a very compelling story with its goofball characters and showing how vulnerable each of them are. The animation and art hold up throughout the series. Not once did I see anything stutter or become framey during my time watching the entire series. Character movements are smooth and have just the right amount of bounce to them that fits the goofy and whimsical nature of the show. I'd almost go so far as to say the animation quality could rival even some of the best 2D animated movies out there. It's also interesting seeing how Horse as a character presents the stark contrast in her movements and actions compared to the more whimsical supporting cast. Horse is a character that is made to be more down-to-earth with hard edges and well-defined angles as opposed to the Centaur inhabitants who are all rather rounded characters that bounce and jiggle. I just love the look of the show from top to bottom. The voice cast give phenomenal performances. There is not a single weak link. Every actor was on point with solid delivery, selling me on each of the characters they played. At first glance, I wasn't familiar with a lot of the names listed for the cast, but after I did a little digging, I was pleasantly surprised to see some of the other credits this cast has under its belt. Kimiko Glenn, who plays the main character Horse, has played characters from the recent DuckTales series, Into the Spider-Verse, and even the new My Little Pony movie, just to name a few things she's done. Aside from delivering her dialogue as Horse, she nails every musical number she's in. The praise I have for Glenn's performance applies to the entire cast. Every character and every singer in this crew gives their best performance. I grew to adore many characters outside of the main cast, which I don't want to give away here, but I'm sure you'll find your favorites too if you give this show a chance. While the cast may not have the biggest names in the industry, I honestly feel like they couldn't have had a better group of talented performers than this. The soundtrack for this show slaps. I'm not really a big fan of musicals, but even I have to give it up for the songs in this show. While there are a few tunes I wasn't a fan of, the majority of the songs in this show are catchy, funny, and really stuck with me long after I finished every episode. For the most part, the tracks are upbeat, wearing their pop influence on their sleeves. These are obviously the most catchy tunes in the series, but with the nature of the story Centaurworld wants to tell, it also has its fair share of songs that will tug on your emotions. As I mentioned earlier, these songs work so well thanks to the talented cast of performers who are giving every song their best. If this whole review just sounds like I'm doing nothing but gushing over this show, it's because I am, and I have no problem doing so. I loved this series from top to bottom. The creative staff knew what they wanted to make, and they succeeded in creating something fun, experimental, and incredibly charming. Centaurworld may be hard to recommend to everyone, but I strongly advise giving it a chance, no matter who you are. As I mentioned at the start of this video, the show can be ridiculous and even cringy at times, but I love this show. Centaurworld gives a really great first impression, and I look forward to what Sketchshark Studios brings us in the future with the second season. I give Centaurworld a solid 5 out of 5.